Hi, my name's Sam for This Girl Eats at Disneyland Paris, and I'm here with my first Disney video. I'm really excited to share this with you all, and I thought I'd start things off with my favourite thing about Disneyland, and that's the rides. So, for my first, and hopefully not last, Disney video, I'm going to take you through my top 10 rides at Disneyland Paris, and just give you a taste of what attractions to expect on your visit. If you don't already know the attraction, you'll almost definitely know the huge Pirates of the Caribbean movie franchise, which was actually inspired by this very ride. It was also the last attraction overseen by Walt Disney himself before he died in 1967, just a few months before the ride opened in Disneyland, California. So there's tons of history and backstory with this attraction. It's a dark water ride with only a couple of gentle drops here and there, and it's very tame, so it's a perfect family attraction. You'll sail past singing animatronics, through battle scenes, and even spot a few familiar faces along the way. It's not the most exciting or groundbreaking ride, but it's a nice one to start off with. Next on the list is Phantom Manor. Phantom Manor tells the story of a jilted bride and a haunted house, all set inside an abandoned mansion that you'll see tucked in the corner of Frontierland. The ride has just undergone some major refurbishments and a few changes have been made, but it's still the same ride at heart. Phantom Manor is another dark ride. This one is really dark though, so if you're afraid of the dark, it might freak you out a little. It's not really like a ghost train where things jump out and scare you, so you don't really need to worry about that, although there are a few moments that might catch you off guard. It's more just like a creepy ghost story with intriguing special effects and really excellent theming. I just love watching the story unfold as you're taken through this attraction, and I think the pre-show is also great and definitely one to check out if, like me, you're into kind of spooky things. The first coaster on the list is Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. Rock and Roller Coaster is a launch coaster going from 0 to 57 miles an hour in 2.8 seconds, and it's based on being in an Aerosmith music video. So there's loads of lights flashing and Aerosmith music playing from the speakers in the ride vehicle, so it's pretty cool. It is another dark ride, but it's also only one of 3 rides in Disneyland Paris that actually includes inversions, so you will be going upside down on this one. When you walk through the queue, you also get to check out band merchandise like guitars and gold records. It's kind of like being in a hard rock cafe. There's also a short pre-show where you're in a recording studio and the band explain how they came up with the idea, so that's also pretty cool to watch. Sadly, this ride is actually closing in September this year to undergo refurbishment. It will no longer be an Aerosmith ride, but it is being made into an Iron Man ride to go with the Marvel expansion happening at Disneyland Paris. At number 7, it's Ratatouille The Adventure. I love the Ratatouille ride. I wasn't a huge fan of the film, so I wasn't sure I'd really get it the first time I went on it, but honestly it is so much fun. I love it so much. It's an indoor family attraction where you get to shrink down to the size of a rat and follow Remy through the kitchens, obviously trying to stay out of trouble along the way. This is an immersive trackless ride with 3D effects, so you never really know where you're going or what's going to happen next, which is really fun and makes it really interesting. It's a really innovative attraction that's as exciting for adults as it is for tiny little kids. The line for this one is always long, so make sure you try and get a fast pass if you can. Next up is Star Tours. Now with Star Tours, I'd say almost the opposite. Avoid getting a fast pass if you can. The line for this ride has so much theming. I mean, you see C-3PO and R2-D2, you get to hear the droids talking and making jokes, which are actually really funny, and it's just one that's worth getting in the standby line if the wait time isn't too long.
Who's going to Hoth? I have one word for you. Layers.
Star Tours is a simulation ride, so you're playing the role of tourists being taken on a guided space flight, but of course things don't go to plan. You really do feel like you're on an out-of-control spaceship. I don't know how they make it feel so real, but they really, really do. And it can get a little bit bumpy, so if you get motion sickness, be aware this ride might make you feel a little bit queasy. But if you don't, it's such a great experience ride, even if you're not the biggest Star Wars fan, which I am not, but it's such a great ride, it's so much fun either way. At number 5, it's Crush's Coaster. One of the newer coasters in the parks, Crush's Coaster can be found at the Walt Disney Studios Park and is one of the most popular rides at Disneyland Paris. It's an indoor spinning roller coaster that starts off as a gentle journey through the reef with some familiar faces from the Finding Nemo movies, but the current soon takes over and things pick up pretty quickly from there. It is a fast ride and it's very dark in there, but it is so fun. It's a really fun coaster. Now the line for this one is always long and there is no fast pass, although there is a single rider queue. But you will want to go over to this ride pretty much straight away and try and get in line as soon as possible. Otherwise you'll be looking at least an hour wait for the entire day, if not more. Definitely not one for the faint-hearted, but a ride I always come out of laughing and smiling is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. The abandoned hotel is the first thing you'll see when you walk into the Walt Disney Studios, and it quite literally towers over everything at 199 feet high. The theming of this ride, from the cast members to the Twilight Zone pre-show and the indoor queue before you step into your service elevator, is all really creepy and immersive, and it is great. I love it. The ride itself is a drop ride that shoots you up and down the tower with incredible views of the park. It's really great to get that view right across the studios, but it is quick, and if you're anything like me, you probably won't actually catch those views because you're too busy screaming the entire way. But it's a really, really fun ride. Okay, now it's time for a ride really close to my heart, and that's Peter Pan's Flight. I fell in love with this ride the first time I went on it because it's just so cute and it's a really lovely family ride. Peter Pan's Flight actually opened with the original Disneyland park in California in 1955, so it's a real classic Disney ride. Even though it's so old, I think the illusion it creates is still just as magical and has really stood the test of time. This ride takes you in a flying pirate ship over various scenes from Peter Pan, so you fly over the London night sky and over miniature recreations of Neverland. It's just so pretty, and I just really enjoy this family-friendly ride. The line is usually pretty long, but the ride itself is actually very short, so this is really worth a fast pass to skip that long queue and get straight on the ride. Coming in at the number 2 spot for me is Star Wars Hyperspace Mountain. This used to be the classic Disney coaster Space Mountain, but in 2017, Disneyland Paris revealed the ride's new permanent Star Wars overlay. It is a launch coaster that starts off shooting you uphill and then takes you through a dark indoor galactic adventure with incredible special effects and a great Star Wars soundtrack. Now, this is the only Space Mountain to actually include inversions, so you will be going upside down here, so just be prepared for that because it's all indoors and you won't know until you're on it. The Star Wars theme has really made this ride so much more exciting and fun, again, even for someone who's not really a big Star Wars fan. And it's actually why a lot of people, especially now, agree that this version is the best Space Mountain. Now it's time for my absolute favourite ride in the whole of Disneyland Paris. That's right, it is Big Thunder Mountain. You'll come across a version of this ride in almost all of the Disney parks, and it is a classic coaster that has pretty much stayed true to the original the entire time. The Disneyland Paris version is unique though, because it's on an island in the middle of a lake, so the ride actually starts on the mainland, but then the track takes you right under the water and gets you over onto that island. Big Thunder Mountain is essentially a runaway mine train which takes you through caves and tunnels, with some of the ride taking place outside while some is in complete darkness. It's definitely a thrill ride, but not so much that younger guests can't enjoy it too. It's a really fun roller coaster and it gives some great views of the park, especially if you ride at night when the fireworks are happening. You can get a great view of those from the roller coaster. And also, just a little tip for this one, if you sit at the back of the cart, it'll feel much faster. But if you want a bit of a tamer experience, perhaps you're taking younger children on their first roller coaster or something like that, head to the front, the ride will be much gentler up there. Big Thunder Mountain usually has very long wait times all day, so if you can get a fast pass for it, then it's definitely a good idea, but for me, this ride is always worth the wait. So that's it, that's my top 10 rides at Disneyland Paris. Hopefully that's given you a taste of some of the attractions at the parks and an idea of what you might want to ride when you get out there. Let me know in the comments what your favourite rides are, and if you agree or disagree with my top 10, we would love to hear from you. Remember to subscribe to the channel, we've got loads of Disney content coming up soon, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any. Thanks for watching and see you next time for This Girl Eats at Disneyland Paris.